So this truck had windshield washer sprayers that were mounted on the hood. I didn't want those on my carbon fiber hood, so I went ahead and shaved them as part of restoring that hood. Now I need to find a new place to mount my windshield washer sprayers. I've noticed on my Camaro that those go on the cowl panel as opposed to going through the hood, and I think that's what I'm going to do here. I've gotten myself a set of windshield washer sprayers that go to the 2005 and later Tacomas. These are better because instead of having the dual nozzles that just shoot like the laser beam of water, these make like a nice mist, and that's a better option because it wets the windshield more evenly. It just does the job better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out more or less where I'm going to be placing these, and then I'm going to take the cowl panel and install them. So realistically, this stuff should be they're 22 inches apart on the hood from the factory, so I'm assuming that I'll keep more or less the same layout. So that means 11 inches on either side of the center point. So say that's probably about the center there. So probably want to have one here. All right. Another one around there. So let's go ahead and take out that panel and then we can work on it. Now I had to modify the panel a little bit in order to get this stuff to work. So I actually 3D printed a little base that's going to hold these up above the strikes there and allow them to do their job properly. And this is actually going to be what I'm mounting to the cowl panel first. So I'm going to be making cutouts in the cowl in order to allow these little adapters to fit, and I'll be gluing those adapters in place and then installing these sprayers from above. Alright, so first thing for removing this cowl is to remove the windshield wipers. Let's see if I can pop off these little covers. Oh, you can do it with your nail. Looks like a 12. Yep, 12 millimeter. In order to remove that, let's go ahead. Okay, gotta hold the arm. Do that. Now, these things are splined into place, so they won't just come out. You gotta kind of wiggle them back and forth. I'll work that one out once I get the other one off. Getting a little bit of while I'm in there syndrome, but while I'm in here, I'll probably go ahead and spray paint those wiper arms because they're looking a little busted. Alright, a little bit of force, and that wiggled right off. It's actually not splined into place like yeah, it is. It is. The collar is splined. So you can see there's these little splines in here, and they spline onto the shaft that turns it. That's how it actually is able to grip this thing. So I'll take advantage. You see it's pretty rusty and dirty on the bottom, so I'll clean it up and I'll spray it. Keep it nice and clean, and then I'll probably hit it with fluid film so that it stays that way. Now these trucks have 6 screws that hold this on, so where you see these little cutouts, there's a Phillips head screw. So I'll go ahead and undo that. There's 6 of them, so they go all the way across the cowl panel. Got the first 3 out. Whoa. I got 2 out. What the hell happened here? I guess I'm missing one. Lovely! I hate it when stuff is missing. coming out, so we're gonna have to use some screwdrivers to kind of tease it out. There we go. Now there's a matter of all these little clips. So there's like 4 of these, I want to say, along this. And usually that type of clip is a headache to deal with. So we gotta see about them things. So this one's actually not that bad. Seems to be working out pretty decently. Let me bring a little tool to pry it, and it should pop out. Alright, so that one's at least loose because I can lift the panel. As a matter of fact, I think they're all loose. Not doing much of a job of holding stuff in place here. This last one is the exception. Alright, let's see if this thing will come up now. Should come out without too much issue. And hopefully it's flexible enough that I don't gotta take out the fender, because it does stick under the fender slightly, but it looks like it's gonna come out here without too much of an issue. There we go. That's that. And let's see if I can get the other side out. And that should be it. Alright, got that off. So this will be the first thing I'll cut out, all of these. Then I'll work on fitting this in from behind. And if that gives me trouble, which it most likely will because of its width, then I gotta cut. Then I gotta cut out some of these trays on this side. There. Now we just gotta cut the strings. That fit pretty well. I may actually just reprint this so that it sticks up a little bit further, because I'd like for it to be as tall as the rest of this. So that's probably the only thing I'm going to change. And yeah, maybe make the little tabs on the bottom a little bit bigger. But I am overall pretty happy with how that's fitting and how it looks. Once that's done, it's going to look pretty factory. I made a slight adjustment to the design of the adapters. I made them a little bit taller and a little bit longer. That causes them to sit at a different angle versus these strakes. However, I don't dislike that, because now the washers are actually pointed straight at the windshield instead of slightly at an angle like they would have been if they followed the strakes. So I think that's okay. I could always modify the design so that it does follow strakes, but I don't see any added value in doing so, so I think I'm going to leave it this way. Now I just need to glue everything in place. Oh, and don't mind the weird noises in the background. That is my washing machine in action. Alright, so at this point I'm going to take some ABS glue. And I'm hoping the ABS glue will do what I need. ABS glue being nice and black in color, I'm hoping that it won't show through to the other side. I do have some plastic bonder epoxy that I can use if this won't hold. However, I'm not very keen on it because it's got like a yellowish, beigeish color to it. So I don't want it because it will show through the other side. It won't be as nice. Now, the reason it might not hold with ABS glue is just because the plastic I'm gluing to is not very likely to be ABS plastic, even though what I 3D printed is. This is probably polypropylene if I had to guess. But we're about to find out if acetone can dissolve it and cause things to bond to it. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this thing out. It's in there under a decent amount of pressure actually, so hopefully it holds without issue. Once we add a little bit of glue. Alright, here's my part. Here's some ABS glue. And there we go. Let's see if that does anything. Might not. Another alternative might be to use super glue, but I feel like super glue dries very hard, and this both being flexible pieces, it might not hold long term. Right? I'd like a plastic glue because it's guaranteed to flex with the rest of the structure. Alright, so I've glued those things in, the glue dried up, looks like it's gonna hold. I'm gonna go ahead and test fit my sprayers. And then once I have that done, I have to figure out how I'm going to route the tubing that's going to feed the water to these guys. There comes the first one. Popped in real nice. But it does straighten this out. Alright, that's installed. Now that I'm happy with the way this fits, I've gone out and purchased some new tubing. This is from Prestone. It's 5/32 and it's about 6 feet of it. I'm gonna need that because I have to run a completely different run of hose in order to get this done. I've got all this random stuff that came with it. It's not gonna be used anymore. It's not going to the hood. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove all these little fittings. Take this thing apart. I might reuse these fittings. Now, I'd like to have as much unbroken tube as possible, so I'm probably going to take this reservoir out and undo the tube at the pump. I can do it without undoing the reservoir, but you won't be able to see it, and it'll be hard to put a tube back on it. And I also run the risk of breaking the fitting on the pump. I'm assuming this pump is plastic. I don't want to go ahead and damage it. If you have a standard Tacoma at home, you'll have 10mm bolts holding this on, right here and there. In my case, I have these Allen head bolts with the nice finish washers because I did that in the entire engine bay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off now. I guess it's this one. unplug this connector if I can. It feels pretty. There we go. Alright, so you see, here's my fitting. Looks like I've taped this up before, so good on me to not just pull it off, because apparently this had an issue. Hopefully I don't have to replace this pump. Got all the tubing connected. I'm gonna have to connect the washers now. Flip this upside down. See the washers. Wonder if I shouldn't have like a 90-degree here. I could just arc it. Don't need to be that fancy. Okay, I'll run that there. Connect this other piece. Of course, you don't need this tool. You just use the scissors. My scissors are upstairs and I don't want to go get them. So that's why I'm using this. Not necessary. This is really for other things. Alright, so we got the tubing set up there. What I'm going to end up doing, right, is I'm going to cut here in the center. I'm going to put a T-fitting. So I ordered up a T-fitting. I'm going to go ahead and slice this in the middle and then put this guy in there. First, let's see. I want to make sure I cut this pretty centered to guarantee that I have a fairly equal flow. Alright, so this stuff is center to center like 21. Right, which means about 10.5 inches. So like right here. Alright, so that's that. This thing down here, cutting that, took out the tension in the tubing. Might have to reduce the size of it now. Yeah, I mean, I've got to compensate for the width of this thing. Let's cut a little bit off each tube. Alright, much better layout here. I can go ahead and just add a zip tie on either side just to hold that in, because it doesn't feel like a very tight fit. The off chance that might come loose under pressure, I want to make sure that it's on there nice and tight, so I'll add a zip tie. Before I get too excited, let me test that this will actually be able to sit down, because it might be on this metal panel somewhere and I don't want this to interfere. looks like it'll fit no problem, so not too worried about that then. Let's pop this thing out and see about finishing it. Zip ties are on nice and tight. Just go ahead and cut off the excess. That's ready to rock. Let's get the tubing up to it and this should be ready to go. I might actually, not sure, but I might put an elbow here just so the tubing doesn't mess with the arm here for the wiper. Yeah, might be a good idea. So I've been wondering how I can route a tube into the cowl area without having to drill any holes in my truck. So I stuck my hand up in between the fender and the lining and I found a gap where I could run a pipe through. Unfortunately, the tubing itself would never reach. I've used a solid copper wire, which is what you see sticking out there toward the bucket, and ran it through that gap, and as you can see, it's coming out right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the tubing that I have on my pump. I'm going to tape it to that, and I'm going to use that in order to pull that tubing through there, and then I'll have tubing right where I need it in order to have my sprayers work. Got the tubing coming out of here. I'm going to go ahead and bend this, probably so I can pop it in here, and then I'll tape it all together and squish that down. Okay, I think that should hold. Let's take a stab at that. There we go. Alright, disconnect this. Be better if it comes out through the bottom actually. So add a little bit of tubing so that I can come out through here in this hole, and that'll give me a better fit. Perfect. Cut this so it's not so long. But you should zip tie that so that it's nice and firm. You don't have to worry about it coming loose. This is officially on. It's held in place and I've got my new sprayers. Now I just need to put the wiper arms back on and this setup should be working fantastically.
Put water in the reservoir. Let's test this thing out. Working. I'm guessing once I have my wipers in place, they'll be able to get the entire windshield. It mostly sprays on the bottom, but as you can see, it actually got all the way to the top, and with the wipers it'll definitely give me a nice even spread. Definitely the coverage is fantastic. The entire windshield pretty much is wet at this point, and that's exactly what I wanted to accomplish. Right, now that this is working, I'm going to go ahead and put my windshield wiper arms on. This is my first one. Do I want it to start lower than that maybe? Yeah, that's nice. Let's test them out and see how they perform. And if there's an issue with the way they're cycling, I'll readjust them to make sure that they sit correctly. That's actually nice. I'm pretty happy with that. It's not absolutely perfect, but it is good, and the sprayers mostly look like they're hitting toward where the actual wipers are versus the wiper arms. I'll take the arms back off in a few and just give them a nice coat of paint and grease them up on the bottom so that I'm not doing them in using the sprayers this way, but I'm really happy with that. Now, if you guys have enjoyed this video, if you like what you've seen and you want to see more projects like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Feel free to leave any comments, feedback, or questions in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching.